Is AI replacing you? That's the question that we're going to be answering by the end of the video, so make sure to stay with us. AI is developing rapidly, and the biggest question is it going to take my job, or the job that I'm doing, is it going to be automated by AI? So, in this analysis, I use real world data from International Labour Organization ILO. This is the data set. This is the report by ILO, which we are going to be using as a reference. And I have used my data set from this report. So it has over 400 occupations with over 3,200 data set, each assigned an automation score between 0 to 1. The score represents the probability that tasks within a job can be automated. So we're gonna go to the data set. This is the data set that we have. So this is our original data. I basically have cleaned it and categorized it based on the data. For example, legislators fall under the category managers. And there are lots of jobs that fall under the manager category. And for example, mathematicians fall under the category professionals. Not just that, but let's see some jobs that can be automated over here. For example, cartographers and surveyors. So this is the jobs in the specific category, and I have used all of the data to create all these bar charts, histograms, stacked bar chart, scatter plot, and to figure out what jobs are at most and the least risk. I also have created bar chart for each of the categories so that we could see what jobs in the particular category has the most and the least risk. So this is the chart that shows average automation risk score by occupation group in the year 2025. It shows the automation risk across the job categories are not distributed uniformly. It's different for all the job categories. And some groups also shows consistent higher automation risk in every year as compared to the others. It tells us that automation is not affecting the entire industry. This is the average score that we have plotted in the graph as mentioned. So it's not just showing how each of the job in the category has as the risk of being automated, it's showing it in average. So this tells us that the automation does not affect entire industries equally. Rather, it targets specific types of tasks within jobs. This is the chart that shows how automation risk has changed over 2023 versus 2025. So we can see that the automation risk has slightly increased across most occupation. However, the important insight here is that ranking of occupations remain largely same because automation does not happen in 1 year or 2 years. Well, it's been happening for a very long time. This means that the jobs were already at a risk to continue with. So it was not in risk at 2023, but it was risk way before it at risk way before that. It had risk of being automated, suggesting that the automation is following a consistent pattern over time. This histogram shows distribution of automation risk across occupations in the year 2025. Most of the jobs fall into the low to moderate risk range, while fewer jobs fall into the high risk range. This creates what we call a right-skewed distribution. This distribution is right-skewed because most of the categories in the jobs contain at least some tasks that are difficult to automate, such as human interactions, decision making, or creativity. So the majority of occupations clusters are at lower risk levels. However, there is a small group of jobs that consists mainly of structured and repetitive tasks, and these jobs fall into higher risk categories, like the clerical support workers who basically answer almost similar query every day, and they are giving the same solutions to the same problem. So if we have some automation done in that, like we train a model that takes input as the problem and then analyzes it. We give it different type of solutions, and it can just figure out what the problem that we're giving them, and it can give us with the exact solution. So we do not need to hire lots of people to begin with, right? So that's why we can see a long tail on the right side representing fewer but highly exposed occupation. This is essentially a probability distribution, showing that automation risk is not evenly spread across jobs. Instead, it is concentrated in specific type of roles. This is a stacked bar chart showing automation exposure by occupation group, a conditional probability perspective. This chart breaks down the proportion of jobs within each exposure category for different occupation groups. This is an example of conditional probability. Given that someone works in a particular occupation group, this chart shows the likelihood that their jobs fall into a certain level of automation exposure. For example, clerical workers tend to have a higher proportion of highly exposed jobs compared to more specialized or manual roles. So we can see over here that clerical support workers are the most exposed. The jobs in that category, like you have a higher chance that the job that you're going to do as a clerical support workers, it might actually be already automated. So you might just look for another job. But we cannot see a lot of automation in other category like elementary occupation, plant and machine operator, because there is a lot of manual work that goes into it, and we cannot just trust a robot or the automated system to do that work for us because it's highly dangerous and we cannot be giving them the responsibility to begin with. So this is a scatter plot that answers the question, does automation risk persist over time? So we're just using data from 2023 versus 2025. So it has been fairly predictable over 2 years. So each point in this graph represents a job. What we see is a strong positive relationship. A risk increases in 2023. It also increases in 2025. The R squared value is around 0.823, which means that's over 80% of the variation in 2025 risk that can be explained by the risk in 2023. So, for example, we had clerical support workers who were highly prone to automation in 2023. In 2025, the trend continued, and still those workers in that categories have the same amount of automation. So the strong positive relationship in this plot shows that the automation risk is not random. It's predictable, it's highly predictable and follows a consistent pattern over time. It shows we have a strong R squared value. That means that it's highly predictable and it's increasing. So the other chart that we have is top 10 occupations that are most exposed to automation. So we can see me as an IT student, I can see that there's lots of job that I could be doing, but it's in this highly automated area. But let's go through it. The chart highlights the occupation with the highest automation risk, that is data entry clerks. These are mainly roles that involve structured, repetitive, and data processing tasks. For example, clerical and administrative roles appear frequently. And this reinforces the idea that automation targets tasks that follows clear rules and patterns. So we know exactly what we're doing. If we know what exactly what we're doing and following a certain rule and certain pattern and using data, to give a certain result, then it most probably is already being automated by the artificial intelligence, and can, if not, it most probably would be automated. So it's not a good career choice. So we can see data entry clerks, financial analyst, payroll clerks. We have like lots of apps to do certain work for the payroll service, and web and multimedia developers. Most of it is clerical workers, and all the clerical workers are over here basically. So this is the automation score for category of professionals. So I just brought it up because while taking IT as uh, my bachelor's degree, there was question in my mind that is AI not gonna do all the coding stuffs and all the development? Why would I be there? Like what is the need for me to study IT for 4 years, 3 years, and just be nowhere? So that is why I have put up this graph over here. So looking across all the data points over here, we have around 0.5 to 0.6 automation score, which is really bad for what I'm studying. But there are some sort of jobs that are not being taken by AI. There's about there's about hope of 0.4% that our jobs are not being automated till now. But let's see. Um, Actors by AI, but that's not a. I wouldn't prefer a movie generated by AI, so they are safe. We have software developers and information and communication technology. Say it's a long title, so it just has shortened it. It's technology sales assistant, and industrial and production engineers, electrical engineers. The analysis part of it is done by AI, so they are in this chart. So it just shows that the risk is higher when the jobs are related to repetitive and structured queries that could be answered by training the model to handle the specific query. So the outcome of my analysis is that automation risk varies across occupation and is unevenly distributed, with most jobs in low to moderate risk range and only few in high risk categories. Risk has obviously increased from 2023 to 2025, and it remains consistent over time with a strong positive growth. So automation is not going to decrease, it's only going to increase, and it shows a very strong positive relation of growth. Jobs most affected by AI are those involving repetitive, routine, and predictable tasks, particularly in structured and data processing roles. Thank you for watching my video, and before that, I would like to say that if your future jobs include a repetitive task, or it includes data analysis, kind of sort of, and it's uh, it's a task that is structured. Like there's a particular structure to it, and if you have certain rules to do it, if you have structured rules to do a particular job, and it is repetitive, you're doing the job daily. For example, I'm answering the same question and then giving the same answers on daily basis, that most probably can be automated. But you would have to be more competitive in the job market and have a specific set of skills to be hired, and you're safe. And I think I would need more skills to get a better job in IT, software development, and everything, because uh, AI is fixing all the bugs in my codes, which means that I am lagging behind. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye.